Hi, it's Anthony from CarPlayLife.com, and today we're checking out the MStick from Mgears. This is an Android-based stick PC that can be used with car systems that support only Android Auto, where you can then use Android-based OS apps on your Android Auto system and get a bit of extra functionality and ability to run certain apps such as video streaming apps on your Android Auto display. It's plug and play, so you can plug it into the USB port of your Android Auto system and then have access to all the Google Play apps on your Android Auto display. When you purchase it from Amazon, you get the stick itself as well as a GPS module should your car not have GPS functionality in the system itself. Right, so let's have a look at what's inside the box. Okay, so here's everything you get inside the box. You get the dongle stick itself. You get a extension splitter, USB-A to female USB-A. You get a standard USB-A to USB. And I think this is basically so that this is quite a hefty, big piece of dongle. So if you haven't got enough room, like my Golf actually, this probably won't fit in the angle of the console. It'll probably hit the wall at the bottom. So they've given you this extension so to avoid those kind of issues. You get a little guide that tells you just to basically to obey the traffic rules and things like that when you're using any of the Android apps, because they can be quite distracting. And you've got a short little manual here in both English and Chinese that just basically tells you how to connect the dongle to your system, which cable to use, such as to power it, because apparently the splitter cable can be used to be plugged into a cigarette lighter to give it power, because not all USB ports supply power sufficiently to the dongle, and just generally how to get the stick connected to the internet. The GPS module, it's just the GPS module on its own. It's got quite a fairly long cable. I think that's probably just over a meter. USB-A connection there as well, which I assume will connect to the back of the dongle. And then you place that along with the 3M sticker that they're supplied in a suitable location on your dashboard to get the best GPS signal. Okay, looking at the dongle, it's quite big. It measures about 8.4 centimeters in length. It's around 1.2 centimeters in width, and it's probably got around 3.2 centimeters in depth. So if you've got a very narrow CarPlay port, this might struggle, and then you will have to use the extension cable that they're supplied here. And then you just insert this into the female port like that. And this will go into your Android Auto port in the car. You've got some level of air ventilation at the bottom here. Also, they could be used for sort of to allow you to grip the dongle itself as well. USB-A port on the back. Looks like a indicator there or a reset switch. Another one here. And some Mgears branding on the top here. So spec wise, it's apparently a 4-core chip running 2GB of RAM, 16GB of onboard storage. It has Wi-Fi 2.4 gig, not 5, and its connectivity is type A. And there's also the USB extension cable for the external GPS. As I said earlier, it's only compatible with Android Auto systems. So if you've got a car system that only has Android Auto and not CarPlay, and you want to turn it into a Android OS platform, so run things like Netflix and YouTube, you can use a dongle like this, and this will then turn your Android Auto system into an Android OS one. All right, let's get this connected to our system and see how well this performs. Right, so we're going to be connecting this to the Coral Vision Wireless Pro A dashboard console. This basically has got Android Auto and CarPlay, and it just basically mirrors a system in the car itself. So I'll be plugging this MStick into this console. Unfortunately, this has a USB-C input, and they don't offer you a USB-C connection in the box. So I'm going to have to use a little adapter here that we'll be plugging it into. And once that's plugged in, we'll plug that into the system, and hopefully we can then boot up the system itself. So we're going to plug this in. I'll have that plugged in. We've got a little LED indicator on the very, very top of the dongle to let you know that it's being powered up. And now we sit and wait for Android Auto to kick in.
A few moments later.
Right, so we're in the home screen of the MStick. It's all in Chinese, so that's quite a little bit daunting at first. So I'm hoping this is actually a menu for languages. Can't seem to tap on it. That takes a while. Yep, so we can change our language. I'm going to select our time zone. So we've done our language and our time zone. The next we're going to do we're going to turn the customer improvement program off. So we've got a bit of a warning there. We're running version 224. And then here it's basically telling you to connect the stick to your mobile phone, most likely to give it a internet connection. There's no SIM card in this dongle. There's no extra ports or anything like that for SD. So you will be only forced to use the onboard storage, potentially streaming. So to give it internet, we need to connect it to our phone. So we're going to use our iPhone here and see how well we can get on with the iPhone. So to do that, registration is a little bit misleading. It should really say sort of go to Bluetooth connection or something. So we've got our Bluetooth profile here. We're being told that we need to turn on Bluetooth. So we'll do that. We've found MStick on the bottom there. So we're going to tap on that and we're going to pair. We're going to allow our contacts. So we're going to reboot the device now. Right, so we're sitting in the main menu now. It doesn't look like we've got an internet connection yet because we probably haven't shared anything with it right now. But we've got a very black UI system. It's not given us any further pages. There is a vertical scroll. So we've got vertical scrolling here. Date at the top. It's not accurate at the moment until we probably connect it to the internet. We've got some built-in apps here. We've got Play Store, Chrome, MStick settings. Exit's going to take us back to the main system of your stereo. You've got Google Maps, YouTube, and Netflix, all using their stock UI icons. Swiping up or pressing the app button, we can see that we've got a couple of more applications that have been pre-installed. We've got brightness control, Chrome browser and calendar and clock, file browser, gallery, which is pretty standard, movie player and music. We've got the reboot to be able to reboot the dongle as well. Android settings, volume assistant, and YouTube. So that's all the apps that come bundled with the system, the stick itself. Let's see what this is. So this is actually going to bring down the notification instead of having to pull it down. See if we can pull it down as well. Yeah, you can. Here we've got what looks like probably favorites. So let's set it up now. What does hotkey do? So here we can tell it, we can edit it, and here we can have a most favorite app, for example. So for example, you could say we want Netflix to be our most favorite app. So that's now enabled. So if we hit that now, that should hopefully load up Netflix. Yeah, yep, it does. But we haven't got an internet connection yet. So this looks like the last used or app switcher. And then we've got probably that's the home. So if we go into things like Chrome and then we do this, that's going to take us back. And then we've got a back button as well. If we can hold these down, they don't give any functionality, such as like split view as well. That would have been nice. But let's get ourselves connected to the internet. So we're connected successfully to our home Wi-Fi. This could be your own Wi-Fi in the car if you've actually got some sort of Wi-Fi hotspot in your car, or it could be your personal hotspot that you've shared over Wi-Fi basically. So that's now connected. Go back to the home screen. It has updated our date now and it has updated our time. So that's good. We don't have to manually do that. Let's have a quick look in settings and see what's inside there. So here we've got Bluetooth hands-free. We've got a new firmware as well, so we'll try that in a minute. Let's just tap that and see if we can download it. So we've got updates for the application and updates for the firmware. It's quite a big leap in firmware, so I think I'm going to initialize that, get that downloaded, and then come back.
A few moments later.
All right, so we're back with the update applied. We're now running update 2.5.0. We're in the settings just to see anything that's majorly changed. But because we're in here quite fresh and new, it's quite hard to see what's actually different. But looking at the changelog, a lot of stuff has actually happened, such as split screen. That is now a feature. But this is the Mgears MStick menu, dedicated to the actual stick itself, so separate to the Android settings. And in Bluetooth, we've got some hands-free options, the phone that we're connected to, whether you want to have it privacy mode on and off to protect your numbers. General, we can have our application that starts up when you first boot up into the car, whether we want to use the car microphone or not, as well as touch sounds, or if you want to have touch input when you tap on things on the screen. Whether you want to have hardware acceleration on, safe driving mode, so you can actually have videos not display or video apps not display whilst your car's in motion. You've got factory reset option there. Display, we can change the resolution, which is really, really nice to see. It's detected the incorrect resolution, but this is the proper one, so we're going to switch to that. So now we're running at the right resolution for this display. Can change the brightness as well, text display size, and run this in tablet mode if you're experiencing certain apps behave differently on this particular display. Navigation bar, we can change it between the left and right if you're on a right-hand drive car, for example. Navbar button settings, we can actually move the order of them, which is quite nice to see. And we can actually have a navigation floating button to allow a hidden bar to display. But we're going to turn that off. We're not a big fan of floating buttons here on this channel. Steering wheel buttons. I don't have this connected to a car and its wheel and its buttons, so I can't really test that. But you've got the option to configure your wheel button controls through this dongle, which is really nice to see. Advanced features, we've got volume of the voice assistant, which is super crucial on an Android platform, something I'm experiencing and having trouble with my Deciter at the moment. Synchronization of Android video apps. This is really nice to see. So you can change the adjustment, so you can actually have the audio to be can have it when it gets into here. You can tell that whether it's in sync or not, which is really, really cool. I'm going to turn that off. Don't think we need it at the moment. Here you can see whether you want to have the radios, if you want to have both the radio in your system work alongside apps that are running on the stick itself. So that's really nice to see as well. They're really nicely thought about some of the must-have features on this. And here you can actually have the apps optimized and updated so that they're regularly updated as well. So that's really cool. In the boot menu, you can say whether you want it to auto launch. Some people don't want that. So that's really nice to see as well, even though we have plugged in the dongle and it has automatically booted up. But this is a functionality that if you have any compatibility issues, you can turn that on and hopefully it might fix that issue. You can add a boot delay again to fix any compatibility issues. And that's basically the MStick settings. We're going to go back to the main menu. Let's see if we can actually move some of these icons around. So we can switch between, hopefully, yep, you can create pages horizontally. It's just that there isn't. And you can create folders as well. And also you can actually place the icons that, so it can actually have a few more icons there. And I think you can switch to the clock there by tapping it if you wanted to, set timers and things, and move apps back to their original position. Right, so we're logged into our Google account. We're going to download the device info app so we can see what's inside the dongle. Right, here we are in device info. We can see that we've got a different CPU system going on in here, but we've got a 4-core running 1.8 gig. We've got 50% of our RAM is being used up. And bear in mind, we've only got 2 gig of RAM on this stick. Internal storage, we've got 10 gig left on the drive. So you've got to bear in mind that you might not be able to get some of the bigger apps out there, but for the majority of the apps that you want to be using whilst you're driving, they're going to be pretty lightweight apps anyway. Let's go into the device. Got the MStick as branded. Looking at the system. So we're running Android 9 with API level of 28. CPU, we're running a AM Logic 4-core 100 megahertz to 1800 megahertz, so 1.8 gig. It's an ARM processor inside. The GPU is a Mali G31. Not quite sure what level that is in terms of performance, but we'll run our benchmark test game on it in a minute. It's not telling our frequency of the GPU, unfortunately. Can't quite see what that is running. Location wise, we can't test that. It's not picking up any of the satellites at the moment. Because this system hasn't got the GPS installed in it itself, we will have to run the GPS dongle. So we're going to plug this into the USB-A port at the back of the stick here and see if we can get the GPS fired up. Okay, going to get it connected and have this wire as far to the window as possible so we can get it connected. Right, so we got the GPS dongle connected and you can see here that it's already picking up some of the satellites. I am indoors. It's about a meter away from the window, so it's not really going to get all the satellites available. But when you do have it inside the car and it's on the dash, or at least nearby, you definitely should connect to all the other satellites. But at least it shows us that the dongle is doing its job. Simply connecting it to the USB, it's perfect. You don't have to worry about the ODB2 route that some of the other dongles were using. I would say that the cable is quite short. It's probably about 1.5 meters. So that might be enough to get it from the dongle to the dashboard, but you won't have enough length to channel it through your interior, for example. So Wi-Fi is connected to our Wi-Fi here, minus 69 dBm. It's got a link speed of 72 megabits per second, running at the frequency of 2462. Here's our RAM. And if you weren't to use the GPS dongle, you could probably connect a USB drive and expand your storage that way. But then you are extending the stick length as well, so bear that in mind. Running at 30 FPS, and that's pretty much it. So just general casual use, I am feeling that is a little bit sluggish, if I'm honest, but let's just load up a couple of apps and see how well they perform. So let's check out the brightness control. This looks like it's handling it in its own app. Here you can override the overall brightness of the device if you want to, if you don't have that functionality on your own system. Got the Mgears Updater app, that's already installed here. You can see that we're running the latest firmware, that's updated like we did earlier. And it looks like the applications have also had their update in that package file as well. So that's really good to see. Got the volume assistant. Here, I guess you can add certain apps and then set the audio volume for those apps as well. So that's really cool. So for example, we can go to maps here, add it, and then in the maps app, we can actually give it a volume over the stock volume, which is something that Android doesn't do that well. So it's really good to see that that functionality is in here, but we'll delete that for now. So let's check out YouTube.
Hi, it's Anthony from okplay.com and happy holidays if you have just unwrapped a shiny new...
So that's good. That's all in sync. Let's see if we can actually go home.
If you're a new owner of a Quest 2,
That cancels out the audio, unfortunately. Doesn't play in its own little player.
you're probably still using it as a...
But everything's there, the buffering, the little sidebar goes away, so you can actually run it full screen.
To add a pair of attached headphones.
And I'm not getting any audio sync, but if you did, you could go into that section that I showed earlier and change the audio sync that way for videos. So that's really cool. Check out Netflix. There's a update, but you can't get it because it's not compatible with probably rooted. So if you do want to get the latest version, you probably have to go to the APK mirror.com website and get the latest version that way. But some people don't advise that because it might be incompatible with the dongle, and then you lose the one that they've actually pre-installed. So you do run a risk of doing that. So here we are in Netflix, and we could just quickly check a piece of content.
Right this way, sir. Let's get you housed down. This pistol.
So that all seems okay, fairly in sync. Again, Netflix has quite a slightly slow, lowish frame rate, I find, in its videos, and it shows here as well. But for casual viewing and watching, it shouldn't really bother you, and it seems to play all right. Again, if you get any lip sync issues, you can choose the option to reduce that or improve that. And again, you can download them to the stick should you not want to have them streaming from your mobile data when you're driving. Check out Crossy Road, our benchmark test. Here we go. Frame rate seems a little bit choppy. Yeah. So this GPU isn't going to be one to play games with. It's really struggling a bit. Yeah, so you can see that the quality there is not great, even on this one, which is why I use this game, because it's quite lightweight and it should really cope with this if the GPU was actually decent, but it doesn't. So you won't be playing games on this, let's put it this way, unless it's things like Candy Crush or really lo-fi 2D games. But to come out, you can either swipe down or swipe across, and you can get access to the sidebar, which is really nice. It does keep away and out of the way, so you don't have to worry about floating menus, which is awful in my opinion. And you can do things like maps. We already got Android Auto maps, and that's probably what I would probably recommend. But if you wanted to have that extra search ability and things like that, or Google Maps from a tablet, for example, you've got this ability to run the Google Maps through the Android OS instead. And with the GPS module, that will then partner with it, and it'll get the best tracking for you should you not have a GPS in your car. But it's picked me up okay. So, bit sluggish there. If you see me click around it and updating the map tiles, it's only going to be as good as your internet connection. But you can see here that it does struggle a little bit in terms of just general navigation, which can be a little bit frustrating when the CPU isn't beefy enough, as well as the GPU, to handle even just the Maps app. So if it was me, I'd just use the Maps on your Android Auto device and use it that way. I'm going to take out the GPS module, and I'm going to plug in a USB drive into the stick at the back. And on there, we've got a number of media files that we can try out. Right, so we've installed VLC, and we've got our media detected from the drive. We'll go ahead with our high bitrate file. A little bit jerky there. And there's a little bit of quality down the lower end here as well as up here. So that is struggling a little bit with the onboard GPU. Let's just go for a couple of others. I mean, the quality's all right, but there's still a little bit of frame rate drop. So I would say that the GPU is not great for video, or at least high bit rate or high end sort of like 1080p sort of seems to work all right, but it doesn't seem to be doing it as well as some of the other Android dongles that are out there. But your options are a bit limited when you've only got an Android Auto system to use this with. So I've only just really had this device and another one that I have currently in review that work with Android Auto head units. So your options are pretty limited. But for me, I think this is a nice dongle, but I just feel it's just a little bit lower powered to do some of the more beefier tasks such as high bitrate viewing, gaming, and even maps viewing as well. So I think it just needs a little bit extra GPU and CPU boost to get the best out of something like this. But what Mgears have done with their UI and just the general options on top of that Android layer is really, really good, and it's really, really good to see. I'd say it's probably one of the better ones that I've seen, and I would like to maybe have seen them adopt this in their CarPlay dongles if they did one. And with all the lag options and audio navigation options, these are all things that really the other dongle makers really should be adopting in their UIs as well. But as a package, I would say that's probably a little bit average, and I think they could have done a little bit better if it had much more better processor and GPU behind there. But if you're going to be doing lightweight tasks, then maybe this is something that might not bother you if you're just going to do some very lightweight tasks on your Android Auto system. And again, options are limited at the moment. There's not really that many dongles out there that support Android Auto systems. But I'm sure if this is something that becomes a little bit more popular, then you might see more of these come on the market over the coming months. So this dongle retails for currently $159.99 on Amazon. You can check out my links down below to learn more about it and to buy yourself one. At that price, it's roughly a little bit on the low end of the Android OS dongles. And as I said earlier, the options are very limited on Android Auto systems with Android OS dongles. But at least this is an early start from Mgears, and it's really nice to see with their really good UI and features that they've added to this dongle. But hopefully we'll see more improvements in future versions of this dongle potentially with better GPU and CPU performance that can really drive the apps along with their great UI. All right, I hope you found this video helpful. If it has, please leave us a like down below and let me know in the comments if you have any questions about this MStick from Mgears. You can check out all my other Android Auto reviews up in this top playlist up here. Hit that subscribe button down below to catch all my future content, and I'll see you on the next one. Cheers. Bye.